Good morning, Aubrey. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. I am very excited to be talking about this today, you guys. We are in the last episode of a series we've been doing. If you haven't heard the last three episodes, you need to go back and listen. What are we talking about in this series?
Yes, right. We've been talking about last year's average IELTS scores, both for language learners and native speakers. So
Mhm.
we have already covered listening, reading, and writing. If you missed them, you need to check them out to find out why are the scores so low and how can you avoid getting similarly low scores.
It's it's bananas, you guys. We Aubrey and I are
I'm
as
shook.
shocked as you. Exactly. And we really saved the best for last as far as like the most shocking scores. Because even natives are not doing well on speaking. So, guys, today we're going to talk about these scores and why natives are not doing well and how you as a non-native, as a student, how you could still get a seven or higher on IELTS speaking. So, Aubrey, let's dig into these scores.
Yes. Okay. So, first of all, this is for everyone who takes IELTS, right? The average speaking score last year was 6.14.
Hmm.
And now this is going to really shock you guys, right? The average score for native English speakers was 7.1,
That
right?
is
Crazy.
mind blowing.
I would have thought nines, at least high eights.
Yeah.
I am
At
shocked. We
least
had to
high
think about
sevens.
this a
I don't
little
know.
bit to think like,
Like,
why? Why is this happening?
seriously, guys. So we're going to break it down from an examiner point of view because that's the only way to explain the scores, right? As a candidate, as an IELTS candidate, you must know what the examiner is looking for on writing, like we talked about yesterday. But equally, you have to know what the examiner is listening for on IELTS speaking. There are four scoring categories, and we need to hear you be on the top of your game for each of those categories. And obviously, natives don't even do that. So let's get into
Right.
this. What scoring category should we talk about first?
Yeah. So, first of all, if you guys heard when we talked about writing, you heard this, but same for speaking. It's not about grammar, guys. Natives are like
Totally.
barely hitting a seven when they're using nearly perfect grammar. It's the other three scores that are pulling down these scores. You've heard that a lot here from us. It's not like grammar shouldn't be your only focus. And this is the proof.
Think about it, guys. So we've told you that grammar is the hardest score to improve. Don't focus on it. Focus on the other three. And this is true. So it's almost like the opposite for natives. Grammar's like the easiest score for natives, and the other three are the most difficult. Now, every scoring category is the same weight, right? Like the examiner will assign a 1 to 9 score for each category. Those are added up, divided by four. There's your speaking score. So they're all equally important, is what I'm saying. So imagine this, guys. If natives are getting nines on grammar, how low are these other scores to average out at just above a seven?
Right?
Like
They're
that's really
they're
crazy.
lower than the average language learner, clearly, or
Exactly.
they would be getting much higher scores.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
It's crazy. Okay, so not about grammar, guys. Don't spend time there. Let's talk about the first category, fluency and coherence. So here the examiner's listening for your ability to keep talking, to express your ideas smoothly, logically, cohesively in English, to provide strong and supported ideas, just like in writing. Um, and in part two, to be able to speak for that whole 2 minutes without difficulty. So, what is the deal? What are native speakers doing wrong here?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is with part two.
Yeah.
You guys have heard me. If you've listened to IELTS Energy for a while, You have heard a couple of times where it's difficult to fill a part
It's
two.
hard.
And I'll either start getting a little repetitive or whatever things, and we'll tell you, like, okay, here's what could be improved about that part two answer. And that is for sure going to happen to the average native speaker who is not used to, for 2 minutes, speaking not as a back and forth conversation,
Right.
just describing something for 2 minutes and using interesting vocabulary, not being repetitive. I guarantee you a lot of them are stopping before 2 minutes or being really repetitive.
100%. Because the examiner does say speak for 1 to 2 minutes. So it seems like, okay, well, I could just speak for a minute
1 minute.
then. Like, that's all you're asking me to do. That's a lie, you guys. You have to speak for the whole 2 minutes.
You know,
if
why
you're
do they
gonna
say
score
1 to 2
highly.
minutes? That's so rude. I could see that really throwing
I
someone off who's
know.
not prepared. It's terrible.
Mean. It
It's
is
so mean.
terrible. I remember examining a native speaker on the real IELTS exam, guys. And she started off mad. Like, she didn't want to be there. She's like,
Why do I have to
I'm
take
an
this?
American. Why do I have to take a stupid English test? This is dumb. I shouldn't be here. Of course I can speak English. So she started out like, on the
A chip on her
defense.
shoulder, we'll say. She had a chip on her shoulder.
Totally. And I remember in part two, she like gave up so fast. I think the question was, it was something about music. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about music. And like literally, she like sat back in her seat, crossed her legs, crossed her arms, and was like, I don't even like music. Like, that's it. She just like gave up. And as the examiner, I was like, can you tell me something else about the topic? Because I
Yeah.
have to say that. And she just straight up just like stopped talking. So I
Wow.
think, yeah. Part two is not natural. It's not self-explanatory. In point of fact, we lie to you as examiners and say 1 minute is okay, and it's not. So I think, yes, long story short,
Wow.
I think part two is the reason why a lot of natives score low.
Yeah, I think it also happens on the other parts of the exam as well, that they're giving answers with just a few words, thinking,
Totally.
it's fine, right? I answered it. What do you eat for breakfast? A bagel.
Exactly.
No, that's not enough.
Exactly. Because again, like if you don't prepare for the test, you don't know what we expect. So even in part one, you guys, it's not a daily natural conversation. It is an interview. It is a test. So yeah, totally. Native speakers would just treat it like normal, right? Do you like shopping? No. Tell me about the last museum you went to. I don't remember. I'm like,
Right?
that's
This
it.
is not sufficient. These are very low scores you're going to get. I kind of wish that I were an examiner to give a native speaker a 5 on
I
a
know.
speaking exam. That would actually be kind of fun.
I did. It was like I felt bad about it because I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
the system though. So anyway, for part one, you guys, you have to give 3 to 5 complete sentences at least. For part two, you have to speak for the whole 2 minutes. For part three, you have to provide a specific example with details, right? So that's fluency and coherence. Also, don't forget about the linking word part of this score. In part three, you have to use some impressive linking words, just like writing task two. And I don't think that's a natural thing.
No, exactly. A lot of people, when they're speaking, we don't throw in linking words. It kind of feels strange when someone does. So this is something that you have to practice doing, and you have to be ready and prepared to do it, or you can't get 7 or higher on that on fluency and coherence if you have no linking phrases.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Vocabulary. So we would assume, right? Natives should get a 9 for vocab. They are natives. But I think it goes back to what we've already said. If you don't speak enough, the examiner won't hear enough vocabulary to give you a high score. And like, that's it.
Yeah, and they also might not realize how important variety is. So
Right.
if they're just maybe they're not used to using slang, they're
Yeah.
sort of above using slang, or they think they're too old, so they don't use any informal slang language, and it's
Sure.
all very formal. Well, that's not a very native variety on your vocab.
Right. It would go either way, right? I think some people might be like, oh, this is an English test. I shall be formal the entire time.
Right.
And that's not variety. And then other people swing the other direction and be like, I'm just talking. I'm just speaking English. Boo, boo, boo. Super cool, dude. And then they won't they won't show
Right.
formal vocabulary.
Right. And
So
then a
again,
question is about, healthcare and they're
right.
still using slang.
I
And it's
know.
like, this is not appropriate.
Exactly, exactly. So variety, showing a spectrum of formal and informal vocabulary, guys, and not repeating yourself and saying enough new information in every sentence that you are showing the examiner you have all of this language treasure trove in your mind to choose from.
And then
Um,
idiomatic language, right? I
right?
know a lot of native
Yeah.
speakers who just never use idioms, like very
Really?
rarely, every now and then. But, if they don't
Weird.
read a lot or if they, I don't know, I definitely know people who don't. And it might not, in the span of the few minutes of this test, an
Sure.
idiom might not naturally come out of them. So if they haven't prepared and practiced, you might not use any idiomatic language and you're not going to be able to get a 7 on vocabulary.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And before we finish up today, guys, we're going to talk about pronunciation because, again, another surprising one, right? Why wouldn't natives get 9 here? But before we get to that, guys, I want to remind you to check out our new Business English podcast. Check it out, leave a review. You could search for All Ears English in any of your podcast apps. You can also leave a review, allearsenglish.com/love, and you could leave us a review for that show. That would be a great help for us starting a new podcast in 2022 because we are crazy. So, all right, pronunciation. What's up here?
Yeah, so I think that's all about intonation, especially when we're talking about native English speakers, right?
Yep.
Their word stress is but I know a lot of native English speakers who really are monotonous in the way they speak. And if
Mm-hmm.
they go and take the IELTS exam and speak in a monotone the whole time, they're
Yeah.
going to get a very low pronunciation score. You
Yep.
can't do that.
It's true. It's true. And this is what we run into with students as well, right? Um, I mean, I'm sure you've done this, Aubrey. Like, we'll do a mock speaking test on Skype with one of our 3 key students. And after the test is done, I'll ask the student, like, are you kind of quiet in your first language? Like, are you kind of a more like on the shy side or quiet side, personality wise? And they're like, yeah. So they speak like that in their first language and their second language, right? Just kind of keeping to themselves, not being very expressive. And so I tell them, well, doesn't matter. You have to be an actress or actor for 11 to 14 minutes on IELTS, or you're not going to get a good pronunciation score. So this goes for natives too, right? Like, okay, maybe in real life you're just like, I just talk like this normally. I don't really show a lot of emotion. That's
Yeah, I have
fine.
an adorable
Not on
teenager
IELTS.
who just kind of mumbles and monotone everything she says. I have to ask her to repeat a lot. A lot of native English that does not work on the IELTS
That
exam.
is so true. Oh my gosh. Even my son is getting to that age where it's
Mhm.
like, that's so funny. I'm
It's
so
not cool
happy
to be
you said that.
expressive.
I know, because like I have definitely noticed a huge increase in mumbling in the past
much
couple
mumbling.
months. So much mumbling. And I'm like, James, I cannot hear you.
Yes, and that would be another problem for a native English speaker, not only if you're using monotone, but if you're sort
Yeah.
of mumbling and
Yeah.
the examiner's not able to make out exactly the words you're using. Yeah, absolutely not.
Totally.
You're going to get a low score.
Oh my gosh. So, guys, remember to enunciate. Remember to show a lot of variation in your pronunciation. If you've been listening to us for a while, you should know that this category, pronunciation, is the easiest score to increase in the shortest amount of time. Be an actress. Pretend you are me or Aubrey. I've had students say that, and it works, guys.
That's my favorite when a student is like, I channeled Jessica in my speaking exam and I was so much interesting intonation. I love that so much.
That's so fun. Yeah, that's the truth, guys. 100%. So if you have a question that you want us to answer on the show, email us at support@allearsenglish.com. Remember to check out our new Business English podcast, All Ears English. Just search for that channel wherever you have your podcast app. And guys, if you are ready to commit yourself to being done with IELTS, go to allearsenglish.com/KEYS and get into the 3 keys IELTS system. All right, awesome. Aubrey, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend.
You too. I loved this series. I think it was fascinating. All of these low scores. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. It was really fun.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, you can see our like really surprised faces,
Shocked faces.
just big
shocked.
eyes, high eyebrows. Anyway, okay, Aubrey, I'll see you next week.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye.